to Dorsey's Resource. Just FYI, I deleted the previous live stream. I changed the title, by the way, tweaked it slightly. The topic of this video is going to be alternate social media web hosting platforms to join. I want to go over to give you guys intel on some independent social media sites to join, by the way, because of all the, things going on. I'll get into hopefully. Without further ado, as usual, this video is going to be for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. Please understand everyone's individual circumstance or situation may be different. It's up to every individual competent person to please do his or her own homework and research regarding the matter being discussed. This information is not to be construed as legal advice. In the event you feel you need to seek a competent professional, it is encouraged you do so at one's own leisure. Dorsey's Resource channel is not liable or responsible for any misuse of this information. These are simply my thoughts and opinions on the topic being discussed. I encourage everyone, please govern yourselves accordingly. Everyone is responsible for their own affairs. All rights are reserved. Now let's get into this. I wanted to go over because of a lot of the censorship. As many of you all know, there's been an attack on freedom of speech, free speech. I wanted to let my subscribers know that there are independent alternative social media websites, web video hosting platforms other than YouTube. Yes, YouTube, Twitter's, Facebook, etc. has a big monopoly, but that is starting to change, by the way. These other social media web hosting platforms are growing, believe it or not. If you are wondering where some of your favorite content creators have left, no matter which political side you lean to, in case you're wondering, many of them are already on these other platforms. I've been knowing about this for a while. These other alternate, independent social media web hosting platforms are growing. So I'm going to go over the names. I didn't have my other notes with me as previously, but there's some I remember off the top of the head. One of them is called Minds.com. Minds.com. The algorithm, I was informed, is a lot better. Some of these web hosting platforms are connected to cryptocurrency as well. Somehow there's a usage for them. BitChute is another one. BitChute is spelled B as in boy, I as in Icarus, T as in Tina, C as in cup, H as in help, U as in universe, T as in Tom, E as in Edward. BitChute, that's how you spell that. The other one, Minds.com, is M as in Matthew, I as in Icarus, N as in Nancy, D as in David, S as in Sam or Sally. Minds.com, that's the other one. So I went over Minds.com and BitChute. There's another one called Brighteon.com as well. I may not spell out all of these. I'll say it again. It's Brighteon.com. It was previously a different name, but sometimes the web owners or that host these different URLs change it around because of the attack on the censorship. So some of them switch to different names. Of course, also for security purposes, because some of them, they have been under attack. That site, Brighteon, is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger. I actually have an account I created a while ago over there. I did not upload a picture yet for Dorsey's Resource. So I'm inactive, I'm not active, but just in case something happened over here, I wanted to let you guys know what a lot of content creators used to do with YouTube. With the recent crackdown, they would have or create a secondary YouTube channel. By the way, generally with the same name. Some people choose different names as a backup. I do have one called Dorsey's Resource Channel 2. I've created as a backup. This video is also a warning and a heads up to all of you guys out there. I wanted you guys to be empowered with really powerful information. By the way, I'm gonna acknowledge a couple people jumped in the chat real quick. Dr. Ed says, thanks for this, brother. Things are about to change on tomorrow. Appreciate you joining. Thank you. Corporate Credit Blueprint says, hey, my friend, this is Greg. Appreciate you. I'm glad you joined. Since you're watching in real time, Greg, I want to thank you. I did receive your email, by the way. Should have replied already. Thank you for that information. That was extremely powerful. Powerful, and can tie in if I do decide to go over some redemption information, by the way. This video was also Q&A, so sometimes I forget, even though the main topic of this video, I want to go over high power, empowering information for my subscribers. You guys can pass the word on. So in case anything happens to Dorsey's resource, just know you may be able to find me. Let me turn this radio down. You may be able to find me on other independent alternative web hosting social media platforms, by the way. Just FYI, just to give you guys a heads up. That's why I'm going over this information for those of you all who are watching. I do appreciate you guys. So I went over minds.com. I went over Brighteon and BitChute. Those are three. There's another web hosting platform that has been under attack. You want to check out, and you can bookmark these particular web hosting platforms. If you have a laptop, if you're using Windows 7, should be able to do the same thing with Windows 8, Windows 10. If you have Google Chrome, there should be a bookmark section, or other web hosting, web browsers, by the way, at your liking. If you use DuckDuckGo, I know some people like the more private approach. Internet Explorer, Mozilla Firefox, they should have these features to bookmark certain sites. So when you know how to go to your bookmarks, they will be a lot more convenient. Instead of you scrolling or remembering offhand, you can just click on a link like what I do, for example, and it'll take you directly to the alternate independent video website that you're looking for. In case you're wondering, so the topic of this video, I'm going over alternative independent web hosting platforms, some of them social media platforms that are alternative to replace YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. There's another one that I'm on, by the way. I went over some video web hosting platforms that are alternatives so far. So latest I just went over was band.video. Make sure you subscribe. Go over to band.video, bookmark that web hosting platform. So I went over minds.com, I went over BitChute, and I went over Brighteon. This next one is band.video, by the way. These are also, some of these sites are also alternative or independent media, where you're going to get more of the real news. And I'm going to explain to you guys that some of the mainstream liberal controlled media, by the way, keep in mind, are controlled by super conglomerate corporations. Yes, that is correct. They are controlled by super conglomerate corporations. So their news anchors at a lower level, even high up in the pecking order, have to follow orders, just like no different than the police and military. So a lot of times, even if they want to interject their feelings, they have to report on what's in front of them, where they're reading from a script or teleprompter, by the way, like a screen in front of them that they're reading from, that is filtered, that they have to go along. For example, Viacom, I think, owns CBS, by the way. Disney owns CBS. So you'll find in cities like Detroit, Channel 7, ABC, Scripps Howard is under ABC, which is controlled by Disney, by the way, which I hear behind the scenes, the Chinese, the Communist Chinese Party has a certain stake or amount of ownership within Disney, by the way. I've heard that's why a lot of the fanboys, fangirls were complaining about a lot of their favorite movies and comic book stories and stuff being changed around to fit the social justice narrative, or whatever the powers that be are trying to push for social engineering to change our society. They're doing this intentionally. But I'm just letting you know, a lot of your news sites, if you study the communications field, even like Yahoo News, I was so informed by a relative who actually had got their degree from communications from Cleveland State. I actually had another relative who went into that field. I don't know if they finished, but I do know one relative did get their bachelor's degree. So I understand that gets into like the marketing, public relations field, ties in with journalism. To show you guys, I've done my research, because I can debunk a lot of things, just like if I have enough time to go over stuff dealing with the so-called sovereign citizen movement that they tell you is not real, but I've debunked that, and there is a legitimate side. If I have time to cover that, I will address that in this video. This is also Q&A for any questions you guys have, any statements, comments, questions, or concerns. Don't hesitate to jump in the chat. Feel free to chime right in. Also, guys, get the thumbs up. Let's like the video, please. It definitely helps rate higher in the search results. If you want to see Dorsey's resource go to the next level, you want to see this information, get out there, smash that thumbs up button, show me love. Appreciate you guys joining. Those who continue to follow me so far, I am your host, John Dorsey. You're watching Dorsey's Resource Channel, and I'm getting it in. We're discussing independent, alternative social media web hosting platforms to join. These are also video platforms. I'm going to go over a few others that are also kind of like maybe similar to Facebook and Twitter. You have another one I've just joined recently called Parler that has been accelerating, by the way, that has been a threat to the mainstream liberal controlled media. They're like, they were losing their minds over it. I found out they even reported on it on our local media when I did research, because I don't just jump on things. I do research behind it, which I encourage you guys to do. That's why I did give a disclaimer in this video. I encourage people to do their own homework and research so they can make their own assessment and judgment. So you're not just going by what I'm saying. You're not just taking my word. You guys can see the information I'm sharing with you all is valid, because remember, you guys have all the power. I'm just simply a messenger sharing information I've researched, investigative research I've independently studied, and I'm relaying it back to you guys. So just keep that in mind. You guys have the power, by the way, and I just want you guys to know, I'm being transparent. You guys are seeing good checks and balances, accountability. You have to ask this, are your public officials doing the same thing for you? You know, just saying something to think about, by the way. So let me see if we got some more people in the chat. Corporate Credit says, awesome. I pray that it empowers you. Appreciate you for that info, by the way. Mary Saunders says, shalom, Mr. Dorsey. Greetings to you, Mary. Shalom to you as well. Salah, thank you for joining, by the way. Tanya Reynolds says, good evening, Dorsey. Good evening to you, Tanya. Appreciate you joining. Appreciate you. So, like I said, this is also Q&A. You guys have any statements, questions, or concerns? This is the best time to reach me, by the way. If you have any questions, statements, comments, or concerns, don't hesitate to jump right in the chat at any time during this video as I'm going over the topic of this video, independent social media platforms. So I went over earlier, just to give you guys another rundown, minds.com. I went over Brighteon, that's Mike Adams, the Health Ranger site. I went over BitChute, that's a independent web hosting social media video platform. Also went over band.video. It's another one. And there are some additional URLs for band.video. Another one is called Censored by Jack. In case you're having trouble getting in band.video, just type in Censored by Jack. And I want to say on the record, even though I have the last name Dorsey, I'm not related to Jack Dorsey of Twitter. By the way, I just want you guys to know there's no relation. I believe in freedom of speech, by the way. I believe in the First Amendment. I think these big tech companies, big tech giants, their monopolies need to be broken up. I do believe, in my humble opinion, and this is my opinion from my research, they do have big monopolies. They need to be broken up. By the way, their monopolies are too big. This also goes for Mark Zuckerberg with Facebook, which, by the way, I hear was in the news that 48 states are suing Facebook or something like that, that believes they need to be broken up. This also goes for Apple. Apple had been censoring different social media sites that have popped up, independent social media web hosting platforms, such as one I just thought of, Gab.ai, was another one by Andrew Torba. By the way, if you want to support Gab.ai, they are another good independent social media video, a combination where you can post videos, and similar to Twitter. So I'm on Parler, even though Parler is more conservative or right-leaning. Keep in mind that liberals have been censored, Democrats have been censored as well. Remember, when they come after one, they're going to come after another eventually. So I hope if you're a liberal, if you're a Democrat, watching this, we do have some independents, libertarians, people who don't have a political affiliation, or some people on the Green Party. It's people that are like neutral in the middle. And some of them have been censored as well. Like I heard Zero Hedge had a lawsuit with Facebook, and I heard they were more in the middle. They weren't necessarily, they may lean more to the right. Some said they lean more to the left. I don't know, but I heard they got censored, by the way. And they sued Facebook as well as many others. by the way, because of the egregious forms of censorship and picking and choosing biasy and discriminatory practices. These big tech companies have been saying if there's things that they don't agree with politically, they've been trying to label it or say that it's a form of hate speech, by the way, subjectively without evidence, while they've allowed other egregious acts of violence or nudity or pornography or things of that sort on their platforms, but they've targeted a lot of conservatives or things, independent content creators that do not fit their narrative. And they've tried to say that call it cyberbullying and hate speech. Well, people are on to that. You know, not saying you do have, there are legitimate rules that these platforms, all web hosting, social media platforms have to follow, even these new ones. By the way, as long as you're not making terroristic threats, you're not inciting violence. Remember, you cannot do that as illegal to make threats. By the way, you cannot do that. You cannot incite violence. Like I heard years ago, I was taught in high school by a teacher, even in college, under freedom of speech. Even if you disagree, that is your right. However, you cannot yell fire in a movie theater, for example. Some years ago, as this was being explained, things of that sort. So there are still certain rules, but overall, many of these other platforms that I'm going over will not censor you the same way that Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and others out there will. By the way, these are more independent, free thinking that allow free thought, independent thought, by the way. And like I said, if they come after one, just don't think liberals, Democrats, that they won't come after you too. The spider, when it puts a web up, you know, don't think that it's not coming after you, or the web is not going to trap you as well. They just are using you as a pawn, by the way, which I've said about many different types of organizations and things. People are being used as a pawn. You got to be able to see that. So when they come after one, they're going to come after the other. Because as it's been agreed, if you watch some of my previous videos, some of my subscribers, I know some of you guys know about the push for the New World Order, the one world government agenda that the globalists, the ruling class, elite are pushing, by the way. So just keep that in mind. They come after one, they're coming after the other. So don't think that just because it's a lot of people on the right or conservatives that are being censored, and they're trying to label all of them as white supremacists and say it's hate speech, bullying, etc. They're going to do the same thing to you when these big super conglomerate corporations, you know, if they get their way, by the way, and if our legislatures, politicians don't do the correct thing and stop these egregious activities from Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google, Alphabet, their parent company, it's going to get worse, by the way. Much worse, even with Apple, with the censorships dealing with the apps, by the way. So you must understand that if Silicon Valley is not properly regulated, that's why antitrust laws were put in place. When I took business class years ago, I went to DeVry Institute of Technology, which was a business school in Columbus, Ohio. I transferred to Detroit College of Business, where I got my associate's degree many years ago, which was purchased by Davenport University. By the way, that's where I graduated, my alma mater, out of the Dearborn campus, which that closed down and they moved to Livonia. And I had been to their other campus in Warren. I heard they had opened up one in the city of Detroit, West Grand Boulevard. I haven't been to that location, just to give you guys a background. But I learned this information in college. My one of my majors, I've changed it several times, was self-directed management, by the way, was one of my majors. So I went to two different business schools. And I had teachers that went over the reason why we have antitrust laws to help protect small businesses from being gobbled up by corporations that have become super conglomerate corporations. Another big one is AT&T, by the way. I heard a gentleman some years ago, audio that was given to me, broke down how AT&T, if you remember some years ago, how you used to have Michigan Bell, Ohio Bell, Southern Bell. Yes, all of that started by Alexander Graham Bell. He's like the founder. That was all connected to AT&T. They had hearings some years ago, but they did some type of legal maneuver, a trick, and that's why, similar to Sprint, which I just heard Sprint purchased T-Mobile. Sprint owned a lot of the cell phone towers and had a monopoly Well, that's why these antitrust laws, they were created, you study them, to help protect small businesses, small business owners that are trying to come up. So the Walmarts of the world, what other super Kmarts and Targets, Costco, Sam's Clubs are not gobbling up the smaller competition. By the way, there has to be checks and balances, by the way, supposed to be. That's the purpose. That's why I gave kudos to Ed O'Bannon, the former UCLA basketball player. In case you're wondering who he was, you can look up the information. I was glad he won his lawsuit against the NCAA. That's why the college athletes are supposed to be getting paid for their likeness, which I always agree with. I felt it wasn't fair if college universities were making millions and billions of dollars off of these athletes. They deserve to have a cut, even if you set up some type of trust fund for them. When many of them go pro, and they might not have proper financial literacy and blow their money and go broke. Sometimes they need something to fall back on. By the way, but just the fact it's not fair. Colleges are making millions of billions, and it's not fair, in my opinion. Athletes that play for these programs, by the way, deserve some type of cut of that revenue, by the way, off their image, their likeness that's being utilized. So kudos to Ed O'Bannon that fought for years. He won the championship with the UCLA Bruins. I was still in high school at the time, back in the mid-90s. I believe they went up against Arkansas in the national championship game. By the way, a friend of mine reminded me that Ed O'Bannon was drafted by the Detroit Pistons, by the way, which I had forgot. I think he had an injury, by the way, so some teams were leery. You know, of course, when a player sometimes has an injury, their stock value, market value goes down, by the way, because sometimes teams are afraid to take a risk, but sometimes teams will let you try out for them. This is even in football, by the way. So just to kind of give you guys an understanding, this is why these laws, antitrust laws, were created. You can go on Wikipedia, do your research about antitrust laws. The reason this is big, I even heard that there's, like I said, once again, 48 states are involved in this suit against Facebook. So that's pretty huge. 48 states. That was more states that joined that lawsuit that Texas had against, the stuff dealing with the the election, pretty much. By the way, so I'm going to jump back in the chat, see if some more of you guys jumped in. By the way, I do appreciate you all. Dr. Ed says on Wednesday, December 9th, 50,000 Chinese soldiers were reported to be killed as they invaded the state of Maine, though it was reported as an earthquake. Okay, I'm not familiar with that, but I did hear about the sting operation and some of these CCP, that's the Communist Chinese Party spies, being arrested. I did hear this is supposed to be factual, even though the mainstream media, which I'm going to finish going over, such as CNN, MSNBC, has not accurately been reporting on, and even goes as far as to fabricate information. Hopefully, if I don't forget, I can explain again the reason why that's happening. But it was reported by independent media that there was an NYPD police officer who was arrested for being a Communist Chinese Party spy, by the way. And it was just reported recently that those Dominion machines tied in with this alleged voter fraud controversy, allegedly had just purchased Dominion, by the way, which was originally a Venezuelan company that was owned, controlled by Canada, was recently purchased by the Communist Chinese, by the way. So this is huge stuff. So, why would, YouTube be censoring, by the way, to say we no longer want people to talk about voter fraud? But when we heard nothing but when Trump first got in office, they undermined his presidency from the very beginning. At least you can argue, say whatever you don't like the guy, but and compare to Obama. So he was a previous president. They did not do that to Obama. From the time Trump got in, they have undermined his presidency, whether you love him or hate him. By the way, they did not do that to that level. We all heard Russia, Russia, Russia. It's Russian interference, by the way. Well, guess what? I think the tables may have flipped in a certain regard, if you know what's going on, by the way, because that's all we heard. And people, YouTube, the mainstream media, that's all they push with no evidence, by the way. But it's funny, we have mountains of evidence of voter fraud, election fraud. I'm right here in Michigan, And I was just speaking with someone who was in a neighboring state earlier today. We're into the following day. We're into Monday now, Monday morning, December 14th. But I was speaking to someone in the neighboring state, and they were even surprised, by the way. When we were talking about, I was explaining how it appears as though our governor, Gretchen Whitmore, our Attorney General, Dana Nessel, and our Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, they all are in on it. You know, there's no doubt. I mean, I could clearly see from the outside looking in. I'm personally not a registered voter. By the way, I still stay politically astute. I pay attention to what's going on. I canceled my voter registration back in 2004, just in case you guys are wondering. But, you know, I still pay attention, by the way. And it's the reason I did that. I have gone over that numerous times before. Many of you all that follow my channel know the reason already. So I don't really need to go over that. But from the outside looking in, there's mountains of evidence, even reported on by local news, because it was stated it was illegal for them to place cardboard boxes up over the glass, even if they were going to follow the rules for COVID and social distance, that poll challengers are within their legal authority to watch to see what's going on. What do they have to hide if Biden won Wayne County fair and square? If ballots didn't show up in the middle of the night all of a sudden, 4 a.m., 3:30, 4 a.m. What do they have to hide? I'm just saying, you know, if there's not a cover-up. And I heard on the local news the other day, which I haven't watched that much, even the local news. I'll check their YouTube channel. But as far as going on my smart TV and just checking it, I see they're reporting a lot of, you know, propaganda. So when they're pushing that, you know, I'll go read the headlines on their website. So I still pay attention here and there what's going on. But I like to check out the independent media. And this is why I'm doing this video, to go over independent social media web hosting platforms to check out, by the way. But one of the reasons the mainstream, so-called mainstream media, liberal controlled media, as I went over, many of them are controlled by super conglomerate corporations. ABC is owned and controlled by Disney, by the way. NBC is owned by Comcast, by the way, NBC. So Comcast owns NBC, and then Viacom owns CBS. Viacom used to own YouTube, by the way, still might have a connection. And Alphabet is the parent company of Google. So these are super conglomerate corporations. So when you follow the money trail, you investigate these corporations, these super conglomerate corporations, you start to unravel the connections they have. And remember, these anchors that work for them that are reading teleprompters. See, you can tell I'm using my phone right now in case you guys are wondering. So I'm going off the top of the head. This isn't scripted, by the way. Sometimes I'll have notes, but I'm just going off of information that I already know. But your anchors, your news anchors, by the way, a lot of times you can't see. They're reading from a teleprompter or script. If you've seen them have notes sometimes, or like paperwork, documentation, they're at the news desk and they say, hey, this is reporter so-and-so from the Channel 4 news, or reporting from W5 or whatever. And, you know, they'll have the mic. You know, they're following the script. No different than the police, the military. They're following orders. It's just, so these super conglomerate corporations, these CEOs who are their bosses, by the way, are telling them what to report on. In some cases, they don't want to report on certain information because they want to sensationalize the stories, or they want to direct the narrative, basically to brainwash people, to dumb people down. They don't want the left hand to know what the right hand is doing, and vice versa. They say, oh, no, it's nothing over there. Don't look over here. They don't want you to know. That's to kind of give you guys an idea. So a lot of people know this already, by the way. So that's why they want real journalism. They turn to YouTube. You still have a plethora of people that are not hiding behind ghost accounts. People like myself that are real, actual live people, by the way, that are giving you real quality information that's not fabricated. Yes, real facts matter. Facts do matter. And at Dorsey's Resource, you're going to get accurate information. If I make mistakes, I've come back to you guys. I can give an update. If there's things I don't know, I will be honest with you guys about. You know, sometimes I don't know everything, and I'll tell you, you know, if don't quote me on it. When you hear me say that, that means I'm encouraging you guys to follow up with what I'm sharing However, certain information has already been reported on. It's already actual information that has happened that is factual. So it's not, everything is not a conspiracy theorist. Because notice how the mainstream liberal controlled media always dismisses things, like the voter fraud thing, for example. They say, oh, this is a baseless conspiracy theory. And they say, oh, there's no evidence at all. Like I was reading an article on WDIV Channel 4, which is going through NBC local station through Detroit, which is owned by Comcast. There's a sub corporation. So Comcast owns NBC, by the way. You know, just to kind of give you guys an idea. And they were saying that Giuliani's going around the country and these people are claiming that there's voter fraud, and the only evidence that Giuliani is showing is just signed affidavits. And I'm like, when I read the article, I'm like, no, that isn't the only evidence. There's way more evidence, like the video footage that came out with the lady down in Georgia named Ruby Freeman and her daughter, after they told the poll watchers to leave, you know, and told them it was over, the counting stopped, but we pulled you know, boxes from under the table so we can count extra ballots. You know, all of a sudden, all of these states, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Trump had massive leads, even past midnight. But oh, early in the wee hours of the morning, extra votes show up for Biden. Wisconsin, Michigan, all going towards Joe Biden. All of a sudden, he inches past, all of a sudden, magically surpassed. And then they try to tell you locally in Michigan, it's Kent County that carried, you know, Biden. Trump didn't get as many votes. Yeah, really? Gretchen Whitmore, really? You want me to believe that? Why would people be protesting at Jocelyn Benson's house? Yeah, you really want me to believe that? Attorney General Dana Nessel, you really want me to believe that? Mama didn't raise a fool, and I was not born yesterday. I did not come out the womb yesterday. I use common sense, you know, by the way, and, you know, but they tell you, they're trying to tell us that there's no evidence. It's just baseless conspiracy theory. It's nothing over there. She's saying we need to move past things. Why are you rushing us to move past things all of a sudden? You know, shouldn't we be transparent for the integrity of the election? Or is it another thing? Or is it that you guys hate Trump so bad? You guys have TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. Ooh, don't go there, Dorsey. Don't mention that. TDS, Trump derangement syndrome. Is that the reason why? But, you know, like I said, to reiterate, I wasn't born yesterday. I didn't come out my mother's womb yesterday. But in order for you guys to believe, for me to believe what the mainstream media is saying, they're trying to say we're conspiracy theorists, but they sound stupid and crazy. I must believe that the sky is pink, dogs can fly, and newborn babies can speak fluent English and Japanese and Chinese. Yeah, really. That there's no evidence at all. When there's video footage, postal workers have come out as whistleblowers. Project Veritas, postal truck worker, ballots going across states, a postal worker being fired in Buffalo, New York, being caught in Canada. I found out from another private source that I have, a young person that gave me information. Told me those were Trump ballots. I know the guy he was a black guy, postal worker. And he said, yeah, I was going to deliver them. Yeah, they were Trump ballots, right? And the Canadian police, when they do a random search, because we're a border city. So I've been over to Canada years ago, and I know about how the border patrol, how they can do just random searches, because that's happened to me before. By the way, I used to go over there years ago, right over at Windsor, which is right across the border from Detroit, by the way. And used to go to the club over there, bars. Sometimes people go to the casinos over there before we got the casinos in Detroit. And they do random searches. That's how I heard they caught that postal worker in Buffalo, New York. I read this story. Even before the election, it was Trump ballots being caught thrown away in garbage cans. All type of ways they cheated. 5-year-olds voting. Children, I heard. People's pets. People were getting ballots to register in the mail for their pets that died years ago just because their names were listed as legal persons. Yeah, numerous ways. Dominion machines, Antrim County, by the way, Michigan, switching votes from Trump to Biden. Dominion machines, if you listen to the press conferences, the guy that worked for informal warfare in the military that gave his credentials, by the way, I don't remember his name offhand, that went around to different states, went over his credentials. You see, all of these different insurmountable evidence, by the way. So to say that it's a baseless conspiracy theory, no, I think there is definitely standing. There's actually, I would say, genuine issue as to material fact that there's evidence that voter fraud did occur in the state of Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Wisconsin, Nevada, Arizona, beyond a shadow of a doubt, beyond a reasonable doubt. I moved to have this case dismissed. This is a fact, genuine issue as to material fact that it did occur. So much evidence. You know, how could you deny with the video footage? And then you have what the poll watcher said versus what they said down in Georgia, Cobb County, Georgia. People witnessing video footage in Cobb County of Trump ballots being destroyed. By the way, illegal votes. So many ways. And you want me to believe that this is a baseless conspiracy theory? There's no evidence at all? No wonder YouTube wants to try to shut people up. But that's why I'm going over this information. So guys, in case something happens to Dorsey's resource, you guys should be able to also find me over maybe at Rumble. That's another big video web hosting platform I didn't get a chance to go over. So I went over with you guys earlier, kind of through maybe with my theatrics. By the way, my sarcasm, sadistic sarcasm. By the way, I went over Minds.com, Brighteon, Mike Adams, the Health Ranger site, BitChute.com. I went over Band.video. I went over Parler, which is like another form of Twitter. By the way, just like Twitter, but a lot better. Algorithms better. Even though it's more right-leaning, you don't have to be, you can be independent. Remember, there's other sides. You can be libertarian, but Parler is another alternative platform to join. I also hear there's one called MeWe. I may join there. That's you know, it's kind of, appears very liberal, like they've got a liberal flavor, but they're adamant about people's privacy, by the way, and protecting speech, not selling your data that Facebook and Google have been caught doing, and YouTube, to third-party people to make money off of. So you have MeWe. I heard Lisa Haven, she's on MeWe. I like to follow her work. Excellent content creator, excellent journalism, by the way. Lisa Haven, I'm subscribed to her channel as well, by the way. Love Lisa Haven's work. There's many others I'm subscribed to, but just to throw offhand, I learned from watching other content creators too. So you have MeWe. I went over, there's a new one, Rumble. Rumble's new. A lot of people who moved over to Parler, Rumble is like a video, there's a free version, video web hosting platform. So in case you guys see if something happens over here, just to give you guys a heads up, if YouTube wants to, you know, play this game, by the way, they want to pick and choose. But remember, they allow the mainstream media to talk about Russia, Russia, Russia for 4 years with no evidence before Mueller came out with his confirmed information. But we have way more evidence of voter fraud versus the Russia, 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 by the way. They don't tell you with the Crossfire Hurricane that was created, the dossier file that Obama had with Hillary Clinton, the Five Eyes, with the collusion with the other countries. By the way, you know, why doesn't CNN, MSNBC talk about that? Uranium One with Joe Biden, his son, Hunter Biden, when they sold uranium to the Ukrainians, they were the ones, Democratic Party, they were the ones colluding with the Russians, foreign government, also the Chinese, Communist Chinese Party, that still, by the way, I found out, disappears people just like North Korea has camps, by the way. If you guys who support the Democratic Party, who, by the way, is being used by the ruling class elite, if you studied your history to bring in socialism, which leads to communism, or jump into full-blown communism, elements of it are already here. Remember, there was an article a friend of mine sent me, a special forces guy who remained anonymous, came out and said some of these tactics they use in other countries, he stated, are being used on Trump, our current president still. The color revolution tactics they use in communist governments. Why would they be doing that? These certain groups of the deep state, the criminal cabal, the evil cabal, by the way, I call them. Something to think about there. Hey, Dorsey, you're on to something. Yeah, I know. Just to show you, I'm very well studied, by the way, and this is accurate information. Don't take my word for what I'm saying. Please do your research, your homework. You will find out the validity of what I'm saying is highly accurate, and facts do matter. It's important you get real facts from someone that's not hiding behind a ghost or shill account. a real live person that's showing their real face and is giving their real name on numerous occasions. Just saying, by the way, if these other people that want to convince you that their facts matter, you know, they should be showing their face and to have accountability. This shows credibility, by the way. You guys can look me up. Just saying. That's transparency. That's part of having checks and balances, by the way. So appreciate your comment, Dr. Ed. Yes, definitely aware that I hear there's arrests been going on behind the scenes, that a lot of communist Chinese spies were arrested. I also found out that there's another group, by the way, excuse me. Oh boy, I need some water. You know, when I'm going off like this, I got a lot of information, but I heard there's another group out there, by the way, that answered to former President Obama. That now answers to President Trump. This particular group, whose name I won't say, by the way, I'll leave that right there in case I need some more. Maybe I should leave that up here. This particular group, they answer to all presidents. A friend of mine, actually, that studies the emergency preparedness survival discipline, had put me up on this group. Maybe I would say approximately, I don't remember the exact timeline, a couple to a few years ago. This particular group, by the way, a friend of mine put me up on this. Appreciate, he knows who he is. Sometimes he watches my channel. By the way, he put me up on this group. I didn't know who they were. I kind of heard of them, kind of had an idea of them. They have a particular name, like I said, I'm not saying. But there's other information that I read according to this other topic that I cover sometimes. And I was connected some pieces, like there seems like there's validity to this information because I heard about this other group being listed and this other information that I read, by the way. And this particular group, whose name I'm not going into details about who they are or what they do, like I said, to reiterate, they answer to current presidents who are in power, by the way. Let's say they carry out, you know, certain types of things. I found out, allegedly, this group is involved with this sting operation that's happening behind the scenes, or investigation, by the way. And a friend of mine put me up on this group, and I found out, and I told him, he didn't know. I said, yeah, man. I said, this group, by the way, I said, wow, it's phenomenal. This is just like a movie, by the way. You know, I'm not saying who they are, the name. I know the name offhand. Kind of trying to keep myself from going into the details about who they are and what they do, by the way. But it appears as though, allegedly, Sam, because just reading here and there, that they're involved. And I said, wow. You know, a friend of mine, he showed me this magazine that he had, because he's given me, you know, a lot of books on, I appreciate it. I need to go over them, too, on prep and survival. It's actually technically emergency preparedness. Like the mainstream media will try to dismiss it, like they try to brush off things that don't fit their narrative and say these are conspiracy theories. So they'll say, these are all doomsday people, preppers, doomsday preppers, or whatever. They throw these crazy names out there. They do that intentionally on purpose, just like they use an umbrella term to discredit and say this particular group are sovereign citizens. Some people use that for everything without doing the proper research and putting proper groups in their own proper regard. And I've already debunked that the so-called sovereign citizen, I use the term, it's being private. It really refers to being a private citizen, but it's legitimacy. There are legitimate books out there. This isn't the only one, paperback book. This version is no longer in print. There's an updated version you can purchase, by the way, on either makefreedom.com or Amazon. There's an updated version. This is basically the same version with this book, but additional information, by the way. So I've already debunked that, by the way. But you have these groups that'll try to dismiss this information. So my friend, by the way, that put me up on this particular group, that answers to whoever the current president is, whoever's in power, by the way, has to do their bidding. And he put me up, said they answered to President Obama when he was currently in office. And I'll just leave it at that. And he showed me their name in the magazine that he gives, and he's giving me different books and things, which I appreciate, and I archive them. You know, I need to go over very good information. By the way, appreciate him. He didn't have to share that, just like I share with him information that I know in my discipline. He calls these different disciplines, by the way, that we have. So it's important we also learn to combine our skill sets. Those of us who are like-minded, I would say, who are warriors in this, Spartans, by the way, in this fight, you know, but just leaving it at that. So I'm gonna get back on topic. I'm gonna go to the chat again, read you guys' comments, and then finish going over maybe some more of the information before I shut the video down. So we're going good so far. So Dr. Ed says this was on alternative media. Mainstream media would never report this. Yes, you are correct, Dr. Ed. Darren Jackson says, just checking in on my throne of knowledge. Appreciate you, Darren. Appreciate you. Dr. Ed says, December 12th, U.S. fighter jet down by Chinese troops in Canada. Okay. Good intel. State Bound says, peace and blessings, God. Thank you. Peace to the God. By the way, thank you. Darkman 313 says, it was going to be a fake alien invasion, but it was going to be a real alien invasion. And this is where the rapture comes from. But Trump stopped it. They were going to adrenochrome harvest the people, by the way. Very interesting. Yes, I know the New World Order, when you study the Illuminati, aka the ruling class elite, I did go over information with someone earlier about these particular groups. I'm not just saying that to try to spook you guys. One friend of mine said many years ago, he was pretty high up. His grandfather worked for the city of Detroit. He's worked political campaigns. He was one of my best friends growing up. I haven't been in touch with him in a while. Of course, you know, there's a conflict. He knows about some of this stuff, but I'll say it's not in his interest, like the stuff that I'm going over. And we were talking some years ago, and he was stating some things that he was aware of this type of information. Kind of lost my train of thought, the point that I was going to make. But I had another friend that talked about the Blue Beam Project, by the way. Well, I won't mention him, but it kind of came back to me, the other friend, how the New World Order is real. But what I was going to say is my friend, his grandfather that worked for the city, he's worked political campaigns before. His grandson is a few years younger than myself. By the way, I'm still an 80s baby. I was born in the last year of the 70s. By the way, my friend, he was one of my best friends. He was born in the early 80s. He's worked political campaigns. Last time I saw him in person, he was working President Obama's re-election in Sterling Heights. By the way, invited me out there. By the way, and I went out there. So I'll kind of leave it at. But we were talking, and he said some years ago, he told me this. We were at a laundromat one time. I was doing my clothes, and he said, I think you spook people. Well, I want to let you guys know, I'm not trying to spook you guys. I had some people tell me, you know, this information, they're scared. I have one friend, he's scared when I mention that word. I'm not afraid to say it. I think there's millions of people, I would say all over the world now, who know about the Illuminati. By the way, and that's kind of like an umbrella term to describe members of these secret societies. But there's multiple secret societies. They're high up, but also bloodlines of families, aristocratic nobility. They tie in with particular bloodlines who've been in power for years. They've been around for centuries. I have a friend, he's the equivalent of a 5-star historian. And he told me they had been around, even the concept of the New World Order has been around in previous civilizations. If you study history, let me say that again. The New World Order has been around in previous civilizations. This is not something new. It's just in our modern day society, they are using technology by the way, that is, to their benefit. But there's things that they didn't anticipate too, that they don't understand, because they're so arrogant, being egotistical, that they still have flaws, by the way. As powerful as this group is, they have a lot of money. A lot of them are bankers, by the way, high up, dealing with particular bloodlines that started the banking system. But I want to say that the Illuminati, the ruling class elite, is real. They have meetings in the form of, if you guys have heard of the Bilderberg group before, if you don't know who they are, they have websites. Now you can look them up. You have the World Economic Forum connected to these people. You have the United Nations, the G20 Summit, the European Union, the Davos group, which a friend of mine told me is like a daylight version of the Bilderberg. They set world policy. These groups of people are very real. Many of them at the very top, highest levels of power, are authoritarians. They want to, they have plans. They want to get rid of the world's population. They want to significantly reduce it. This is not a joke. The stuff Alex Jones talks about. That's why I said, go to his site, band.video. Please support InfoWars, Alex Jones. Trust me on this. Look past the stuff where the media tries to get us all fighting and say, oh, he's a racist, this, that, and other. They're trying to divide us, by the way. I want you guys to know I support and respect elements of both sides. I'm personally not a registered voter, but I understand both sides where people are coming from. I'll let you guys know I don't disrespect people. By the way, it doesn't mean just because I listen to someone that I co-sign everything someone says or does. But I can say, in evaluating, assessing the information, there are people that are on the front lines that are genuinely trying to warn us. And they need the help. They need your help, especially of black people, melanin people, from all walks of life. Believe it or not, each and every single one of you guys, whether if minorities, if you're Hispanic, black, females, if you are awake to the truth, we need you in the fight. Whatever skill sets. Some of you guys, I understand, is not meant to be on the front lines. I told a friend of mine this. It's okay for you to be behind the scenes. I told him I'd do things that I know about to protect you. We formed an alliance, a secure network. There's people behind the scenes going to try to recruit some other people that just in case something happened to me, because they're going to try to send people on the inside, and they can even be family members. They will try to turn against you. Notice the mainstream media has been the ones pushing a lot of division, by the way. And I want to say America is not perfect. It has its flaws. It has its problems. And I know there's a difference of philosophy why some people say America's never been great, not been great. I was getting into a debate with one relative. I think America is great overall, and I will explain the reason why. But my relative I was debating with, two relatives, by the way, just by myself. I was over at their place, and I said America's been great. And let me tell you the reason why. Yes, it has its problems, but we black people, melanated people, have played a role. We fought in history. We fought in the Civil War, especially black men, melanated men. So yeah, we deserve a seat at the table too. That's a whole nother discussion. I'm not saying this to try to stoke division either. We all are patriots. I say, if you're from an indigenous group, whether you practice Ifa, Yoruba, you're Latin or of Latin origin, whatever your background, you're welcome. We need to find what we have in common. But I'm trying to warn you, the New World Order is real. They have a plan for everyone. They want to depopulate the world. They want to kill. That's what they put on the Georgia Guidestone. Some members of the ruling class elite want to depopulate the world's population. This is serious. They said if we have about 6 to 8 billion people on the planet, they want to bring us down to about over 500 million. I heard maybe even less than that. Seriously. So I'm not trying to spook you guys. I'm trying to find ways to relate to you. By the way, I want you guys to understand it. Some of you guys are already awake. You already know this stuff, by the way. But we're in a real serious fight. by the way. I want to say, no matter what your background is, we need you in the fight. And Alex Jones needs you, too. He's been on the front lines, and there's other people, by the way. He's been warning, and we're coming into the time where the globalists, these members of the ruling class elite, some you can name by name, I won't go into details about, they're pushing agendas, ulterior motive, like, with this, some call scandemic or plandemic, by the way. Say the virus, the disease. That's not a coincidence that was brought in at this time. And, in the way what they're doing to kill people in the hospitals, too. This is not a coincidence. So just keep that in mind. By the way, I didn't mean to rant. I'm going to get back on topic. I'm going to acknowledge some of the rest of you guys in the chat. But thank you for the comment, Darkman313. I try not to get esoteric on you guys. Sometimes I try to stay, level-headed for information that you guys can relate to, by the way. I try not to go out of sight, out of mind. They call that thinking outside of the box. And I want to let you guys know I'm a perfectly sane individual. I had to go through a background check. I'm at the work I refer to as the slave plantation. By the way, I work in security, private security, by the way. I had to go through a background check. I worked in security. I worked for different companies. Years ago, I've worked with private investigators. I've worked with former EMS, emergency medical response, firefighters, scuba divers, former military. I've gathered intel from people from all different walks of life through years past from previous companies I've worked for. So I know what I'm talking about. My information is credible. I want you guys to know when you come over to Dorsey's Resource, when you guys listen to my vlog, I want you guys to know you're getting accurate information. By the way, that's been vetted already. And I'll let you guys know if there's information when I say don't quote me on it, I'm encouraging you guys to research it. Do your homework. Or if you hear me say allegedly, sometimes. Some information is factual. That's already happened, that we have data on, confirmed data. But I'm just giving you guys my background, by the way. So I'm not crazy. I didn't fly over the cuckoo's nest. I'm a perfectly sane individual, by the way. And I actually have a relative who was diagnosed with a mental disorder, so I can distinguish the difference between things. And I was a perfect straight A student in middle school, by the way. In my 8th grade year, I went into some of my background. Prior to me joining 8th grade, I went over this in the past. My 7th grade year, my last month, there was a awards banquet. The school had just started. I went to a private Christian school many years ago called Evangel Christian Academy. My teacher's name, 7th grade teacher's name, was Mr. Height, and he surprised me as student of the month. The last semester at the awards banquet, I had no idea. I was there with my mother. Was getting it. I sat at the table with one of my classmates I had a crush on at the time. By the way, I was scared to admit, by the way, many years ago, Tanika Portis. By the way, I sat with her mother. I was nervous. The teacher had surprised me. That was the first, I believe that's when they had just started the awards banquet. I started going to that school in 5th grade. My mother took me out of Detroit public schools because of the violence that was going on when I was in elementary school. I used to get into a lot of fights. I got jumped in 2nd grade. By the way, my dad came to pick me up from school. I fought 3 guys on my own by myself. By the way, my dad was ecstatic. So it shows I was a fighter, natural born fighter from the beginning. Not the biggest guy, but I was the guy, the type of kid, you take it to me, I'm going to bring it. But I was cool with the guys that I got into a fight with back then years ago, in case you guys are wondering. We buried the hatchet. There was a kid in my 2nd grade class. His name was Sean. He was mad. So I wanted to leave, go home early. The teacher said, you guys get caught eating snacks. She wanted us, how the teachers have you stand in line as they're getting ready to escort you to let you out, but you got to wait till the bell rings. So she said, I'll hold you longer. And, you're ready to leave. You bust out as a kid. You want to run out because same part as the playground with your parents, or you walk home from school, your parents come to pick you up. However, that's how they did it back then, back in the day at Meyer Elementary in Detroit. By the way, so all of a sudden I had out the blue, I got jumped and didn't even know my dad was watching, had saw it, because he came to pick me up sometimes, not all the time, but he taught me how to walk home. I was in second, had just started. I transferred from another school, from Peck Elementary to Meyer Elementary. So my parents lived in a different part of the city at the time on the west side. By the way, it's a true story. So I was jumped, a guy named, my class name was Sean, a guy named Sean, Jason, and Jeffrey. Jeffrey was mad, as I told the teacher that he was eating, had a cookie. So I wanted to leave early. I was tired of these guys, you know, my classmates messing us up, causing us to get out and leave late. So, you know, back then they called me a snitch or whatever. So all three decided to jump me, by the way, after school. And the teacher found out her name was Miss Parks. And she found out, by the way, and it was very funny, very interesting. Had some other stories, but I did good, by the way, in school. So I want to let you guys know the reason I'm telling these stories, by the way. I go into my background. High school, by the way, I went to Cooley High School. I was on the honor roll my junior and senior year. My first year, 10th grade, I transferred from Evangel. I didn't do as well my 10th grade year, so I had to learn kind of the process, by the way, how the classes went. I was able to structure myself, mind you, with no help. My mom took me out of a program within the school. They had the Carter G. Woodson program. They put me in with the rest of the regular students, by the way. And my junior, senior year, I was on the honor roll. By the way, I made the award ceremony. You go across the stage, you get different awards. So I ended up averaging 3.0 GPA, graduated 28th in the class at the time. Could have probably been higher than that had I not messed up my 10th grade year, by the way. But my junior, senior year, by the way, and I went on to college. There's a story I can tell. There was a year in college when I went to transfer to Davenport. There was a year I turned things around. I was on academic probation 4 semesters in a row. I was supposed to be kicked out, expelled. That shows y'all wasn't trying intentionally. They say Albert Einstein, who was a genius, failed 3rd grade 3 times before he passed 3rd grade, by the way. Supposedly on record. So I was on academic probation 4 times before I made a 360-degree turnaround. I worked for instructor Jim Donovan at the time. He was over the management department. Turned my semester around. I made the dean's list. After that, my grade point average within my major was over 3.5. So I was bringing my overall GPA up, because you know you have a grade point average within your major, by the way. Once I started to take college serious, learn the classes, how things operated, had a teacher, I think, pull me out of class one day, went by the name Jack Daniels, said, if you keep it up, the path you're headed down, you're going to fail my class. You got to do these assignments. Pull me out of class one day out the blue. But what was a big wake-up call, because I said, you know, already, you know, transferred from DeVry. What am I going to tell my mom if she finds out I flunk out of school? Mind you, I was on academic probation 4 semesters in a row. Normally, some people don't make it past 1 or 2. It's by the grace of God, I was allowed, maybe because I worked at the school, I was allowed to stay on. But when I worked for an instructor, they saw staff people, they saw a major change around. They say something about that guy, Dorsey, by the way. So I tell you the story that, you know, for encouragement, you know, sometimes when things seem gloomy, seem dark, you can change things around. But I want to let you guys, give you guys a little bit of background about myself, that you're getting credible information. I try to give you stories to relate to the information I'm going over. By the way, that's why I referenced to college. When I talked about the big tech companies, I learned about in my business class, the antitrust laws, economics class, these laws they're violating, why they were put in place to protect small businesses, to keep super conglomerate corporations from forming monopolies, by the way. Learn this in business. 2 different schools, by the way. 2 different business schools. So that's why I go over this information sometimes, let you guys know the credibility. So we have Hattori Hanzo in the chat section that came in at 12:20 a.m. Eastern. Says facts, 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 all facts. Appreciate you. Thank you for the confirmation. Hattori Hanzo says the Kung Fu flu has a 99.9% survival rate. The only people affected are old and majority old with pre-existing conditions. And yes, I would also add, when you know about what they're doing in the hospitals and when they put people on the ventilators and stuff, and they also are playing with the numbers. There's false reports, how they're labeling people that have other illnesses and they're calling it COVID. So you have to question the accuracy, and there's evidence that's come out in multiple states, and doctors coming out as whistleblowers with things that can cure you, and the accuracy behind the statistics and numbers. I would also add to what you're saying. It says the shutdown is only to make Trump look bad. Yes, we know, yeah, it's obviously what that was brought in by the ruling class elite. By the way, somebody sent me a video with Dr. Fauci and Byron Allen, who was simping saying this stuff to Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci's connected to the globalists. He's a minion. He's a gatekeeper. Doesn't have your best interest at heart. They had a plan, these globalists, to vaccinate people. One of the ways that they want to plan on murdering people, by the way. So don't take those vaccinations. Avoid them at all costs if you can. Hattori Hanzo says, straight up, man, me and you are on the same page. Those black people who were used as pawns to help election fraud need to come out and come clean so they don't get caught up in the end. Yep, that's what I'm saying. And I'm going to tell you, once these arrests happen, I don't know how it's all going to play out. But if they do, let's say, I'm not going to feel one bit sorry for none of those people, these deep state minions. Because people have all of a sudden have a tendency to have compassion or feel sorry. No, I'm going to be like, no, this needed to happen because they're part of the problem. Even when I heard that they're part of the problem why the dinar, the RV hasn't happened, or the global currency reset, they're behind it. You know, T. Berry says, aloha, Dorsey, thank you. Greetings to you. Hattori Hanzo says, that's Parler question. Yeah, Parler is independent, another independent social media site, similar to Twitter. Very similar, even though it is more right-leaning. A lot more people have joined. But keep in mind, it's been people on the left and in the middle, libertarians and independents, other people that have been censored. And remember, as I said earlier in this video, if they come after one, they're going to go after the other. So don't think just because you're a liberal, Democrat, or progressive, they're not going to come after you one day. They say the first thing that happens when the communists, they take over a government and they use the Democrats or liberals to help them achieve that, the first people they take out is the people that thought they were on the winning team, which are liberals and Democrats themselves. They're going to betray all of these different movements. They already in a form, they're betraying Black Lives Matter. A friend of mine told me they're going to betray the LGBT group. They're going to come up with something. He told me how that's going to play out. By the way, there's other information I'll probably save for another video, but he told me, gave an example. Those that have studied history and understand how the globalists, the ruling class, use psychology and social engineering to push their narratives and brainwash people, by the way. James Way says, Trump's pushing the vaccine now. We're being lined up to be someone's dinner. We are done. Paperwork don't mean a damn thing. Yeah, I hear where you're coming from. You know, it is a complex agenda. Where it's like they back him into a catch-22. So I don't know if these vaccines, allegedly, I heard read some years ago, there was going to be a clean version that the elites will have just so they can say, or that some of their lower level minions, you know how they do the thing, for example, where they would show like former President Obama or the politicians, they would go vote to the voting poll during an election to show you that they're doing something patriotic, but they don't tell you about their diplomatic immunity, their secret security clearances, and things that the average U.S. citizen doesn't have access or is privy to. So I heard the elites or their minions or gatekeepers, their underlings, are going to get the clean vaccine just to say, hey, I got the shot, I've been vaccinated. But are the other people going to get the dirty version that's going to have all the bad toxins, the squalene and stuff to make you sterile? That's the question people need to be asking. So it's kind of like Trump is with the alliance. He's not with the bad guys. Dr. Fauci, Bill Gates, they're with the cabal, the evil cabal. There's a big difference. Not here to try to convince you. Don't take my word for what I'm saying. Do your own research. Do your own homework. There is evidence to back that up. I do have a magazine from some years ago from InfoWars. One of his former reporters, Melissa Melton, was at Texas University, confronted Bill Gates about this at a speech in front of other students, and about the things about the Gardasil shots in India that he gave these Hindu girls over in the eastern part of the world, and their religion. And the girls who survived the Gardasil shots, many were killed, murdered as a result. The other ones that survived became handicapped. They said like 40,000 girls that was funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Let me say that again. This is some years ago. I have the magazine somewhere still at my place. I read this to show you guys I do my research. This is credible. She used to work for InfoWars. Her name was Melissa Melton. She was a former reporter. She confronted Bill Gates when he spoke it, because they use these globalists. They use their underlings and gatekeepers, even at the high position that he's at, being a billionaire. He's also, some of these people act as a front for some of the higher ups you never see. Even George Soros can act as a front for the bankers or the Rothschilds behind the scenes. Remember, they're waging a public relations campaign, so they want to look cool. They want to appear trendy. You know, like they have the latest, let's say the latest Fitbit or whatever. You know, they want to be cool or trendy and seem nice. Notice how the local media, they always seem like they have your back. And, you know, it's good to have, you know, good for public relations, but behind the scenes, some of these people are very deceitful. Notice that audio that leaked out about Biden. I told some people that sounded like a totally different side of Biden. That was like his true colors coming out when you heard that. I was reading some comments of some black people online that said they were like, wow, they were appalled by that. When he spoke, there's supposed to be a secret meeting that was not recorded, that was only privy to, I guess, some civil rights activists, NAACP, people part of the Democratic Party, black people. And he spoke to them this way. You know, like the other side that I see when he speaks at these different events, he's putting on a facade. It's like he's acting. So I said, his true colors came out. This audio that leaked out. Joe Biden, by the way. Sleepy Joe. Oh, creepy Joe, huh? His true colors came out. So you see, as the example that I'm giving, Dr. Fauci, these globalists, he's a gatekeeper, he's an underling. He was connected to these other members of the ruling class that want to depopulate the world's population. They want to use vaccinations to do it. Hopefully we need the whistleblowers, the doctors to rise up. There's going to be an attack even on your children, by the way. You're going to need to fight like never before. Patriots from all walks of life. No matter if you're liberal, Democrat, Republican, conservative, which side of the spectrum you're on, they are targeting us. Remember Trump, there's a quote that Trump quoted, said, it's not me that, he said, how did he say? He said, it's not me they're after, they're really after you. I'm just in the way. Something like that, Trump quoted. They said it's an actual quote from him. He said, it's not me they're after. He said, it's you they're after. He said, I'm just in the way. Trump said that. So think about that. He said, it's not me they're after. He said, it's you they're after. I'm just in the way. Think about that for a second. Use critical thinking, brainstorm, which the mainstream media doesn't want you to do because they want to continue to push their narrative and say, believe. Like during the hearings with Kavanaugh with Christine Blasey Ford and the women holding up the signs funded by activists and saying, believe. You know, that are funded by Soros in many cases, or former mayor, New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg, who's a billionaire who funds these groups too. It's other groups as well. Make sure I'm not just picking on Soros. It is evidence. Lisa Haven did a video where she showed the tax filings to connect the dots of these people. Even Hillary Clinton, by the way, that funded that when Trump was running for president during the primaries, one of his rallies in Chicago that was shut down by the Chicago police. She showed the tax filings. It was funded by Hillary Clinton and I think David Brock from Media Matters. It was on Scribd, that site Scribd. So there's evidence. So there's reporters. I saw the documentation. So this is something that already occurred. This is factual. You can fact check this no matter what fact check says. You know, they can fabricate and lie because they want to act like they're the authoritative source. By the way, that's why I did this video to go over independent social media web hosting sites. By the way, Tanya Reynolds says, yes, Lisa Haven is great. Yep, I agree. Hattori Hanzo says on point. Says facts and context. T. Berry says, Dorsey, thank you for your insight. You are amazing and very knowledgeable. Appreciate you. Thank you. Guest Services Perimeter says, hello, King. I finally get to see you live. Appreciate you. Thank you for the compliment. Mary Saunders says, I get great information all the time. Hattori Hanzo says, born in 90. Hattori Hanzo says, we do. Says, not on purpose. Oh, we're just letting y'all know we know and we're not scared. So if you're scared, come to us. So Darkman313 says, it was said that the parks are the hunting ground for these beings that made a deal with the government, and I never talk about this stuff. Okay, yeah, I understand. Yep, definitely. You know, those of us who are like-minded. But I say sometimes it's best, now's the time to get in the face of your relatives, those who won't listen, who think things are hunky-dory, that things are just bubblegum and flowers, it's milk and honey, we're just fine. No, we're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. You know, this stuff is going down. These elites ruling class mean business, aka Illuminati. Hattori Hanzo says the modern agenda of the New World Order. Yes. Hattori Hanzo says Bohemian Grove, can't forget that. Hattori Hanzo says Georgia Guidestones. Yes, you're on point. Darkman313 says technology they got from the extraterrestrials to trade for people. These beings are eating people. I don't believe it, but it is being talked about. Yes, I've read about that in David Icke's book. Also about the adrenochrome they get from the children they kidnap, of the blood sacrifices at the very high levels, I would say, by the way. Yes, it's hard. I don't talk about that much because it's hard to have, you know, actual evidence on certain things pertaining to that. So when we look up the validity, so you guys know, I did give a disclaimer for those to do their own research, but there is documented reports. For example, when you read Icke's books, he lists a bibliography, just like if you were required to do a research paper in your English class in high school and college, where you had to list your sources. If it came, what books it came from, magazines, newspaper articles, even the internet nowadays in modern society, modern tech, you can list internet sources, and then they'll cross-reference it to see, make sure it's not plagiarized, by the way. And, you know, so definitely do your research. That's the reason I don't talk about some of those things. But he actually interviewed people who made like sworn statements, who were survivors of the MK Ultra, by the way. And that's all I'll leave it at for you guys to do your research. Tori Hanzo says, hell yeah, black or white, we bleed red, white, and blue. Yes. Says, yo, get in touch with Tommy Sotomayor, Hattori Hanzo. Interesting. Hattori Hanzo says, go on Tommy Sotomayor show. Okay, I don't know. I'm not sure how to get in touch with them. I wouldn't mind networking with other content creators that are huge. There's a lot that I follow out there. I think Tommy's he's awake. Definitely. I've been subscribed to him a number of years. I know he's come under scrutiny. He's referred to as Mr. Controversy. I also follow the Black manosphere and women's sphere as well. There's different genres of different groups that talk about different topics, by the way. So I do follow some of those things, because ABL, who generally does conservative content, who's a content creator, who's has a big channel, he's been done like guest appearances in the the manosphere and women's sphere, by the way, that has topics of political discussions as well, that don't just talk about dating relationships. So how you have other genres that intersect, that overlap with one another. So I am aware of that. So that's just to give you guys a heads up. That's why you'll hear me reference other channels sometimes. I'm not afraid where I'm trying to get all the limelight, by the way. So I wouldn't mind. I'm not sure if you guys have a connection or have some information on how I could go about doing that. Feel free to share with me how I could go about doing that, because I'm not aware. I haven't done the research in that regard, by the way, how to go on other content creators' shows, or maybe even have guests, even over here myself, and trying to grow my channel. That is something that I wouldn't mind doing, is interviewing someone or being interviewed myself. You know, I'm definitely interested in those types of things. Notorious Hanzo says, thinking outside the tetragon. Okay, got you. Tetrahedron. Cole Bowman says, thinking within the metrodon's cube. Notorious Hanzo says, 4 and 8. I don't like it. They don't start fights, but we don't care to finish them either. Okay. Darkman313 says, I went to Cody High School. Okay, that's what's up. Cody in the building. I used to live in the neighborhood near there. I used to live on Brace Street some years ago, by the way, back in 04. So I'm familiar with that part. And then one of my best friends they had an after school program over there, went to Cody, by the way, in one of his after school programs. So that was like in another district on the west side of Detroit, not too far. So I'm familiar with Cody, by the way. But that's what's up. Cody High School in the building. You know, whether you're on the east side or west side, I'll rep you. You know, if you're in Detroit, got to show 313 love. Also, my family in the Cleveland, Ohio area, big shout out to the 216. I rep Cleveland and Detroit, by the way. You know, just to put it out there. I'm not afraid to rep the 313 D-Town. I'm also from Ohio, by the way. I'm connected to both states. Joined at the hip. The Ohio to Michigan pipeline. Yep. Just so you guys, FYI. So I had to give them a shout out too. The 216 and the 313. Tanya Reno says, where there's a will, there's a way. Corporate Credit Blueprint says, the Wizard of Oz, who's behind the curtain. Yes, they put a lot of symbolism in the Wizard of Oz as well. By the way, I could touch on that. Darkman313 says, so many doctors have been silenced. Yes, I agree. Tanya Reno says, Trump did say that. Okay, thank you for confirmation. Thank you for confirmation. Appreciate it. Oh, it looks like we got a lot in the chat. As we scrolling down, almost getting to the... I'm trying to finish the comments, and then I'm going to go over some more detail about the alternate independent social media web hosting platforms. In case you guys are watching, I'm your host, John Dorsey at Dorsey's Resource. Don't forget to smash the like button. It helps me rank higher in the search results. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. This is the main channel. I'm going over alternative, independent web hosting social media platforms to join. Some of these are also independent media, news media, by the way, that are expanding. They're blowing up. They're gaining a lot of momentum. There's a couple that I haven't gone over yet. One is Library or something like that, Library and Odyssey. Those two are actually going. And Library, if I'm not pronouncing it correctly, you guys can look it up. Spell, I think, LBRY, something like that. You can look it up. Library and Odyssey, just type in on YouTube. There's other people who've done videos to help direct you, by the way. I went over MeWe Band.video. I highly recommend you guys go over there. Support Alex, what he's doing, the work. I commend throughout the years and trying to warn us, wake people up. Also, David Icke has a video on Band.video. He has a channel over there. I went over Rumble. It's an upcoming platform. Even though I went over Parler, a lot of people connected to Parler. I went over Minds.com, BitChute, and Brighteon. That's Mike Adams, the Health Ranger site. Brighteon's growing. Many of these sites are already huge, by the way. They're already big. And if you're wondering where some of your independent or your favorite YouTube content creators have left, by the way, they're on these other platforms. In case you're wondering. So in case my channel gets shut down or the censorship gets too egregious where you notice it's being kicked up, you guys will know where, you know, or I'll put out the notice if I don't decide to totally shut it down altogether. By the way, you guys will have an idea And if you're wondering, this is where you can find other big content creators. So Library and Odyssey, I heard within the past year, they're newer. They have grown tremendously. I was listening to Anomaly 66 Hammer, something like that. I can't really pronounce his name. The channel, the guy that's from Cambodia, he has a lot of YouTube subscribers. He had been censored before, as well as some others. And he has a account over there and was showing how it's growing tremendously. Like content creators that already had 1 million subscribers or 100,000 have big followings on these other platforms. You also had one called D Live. That is like for doing live streams, by the way. So some content creators are particular about that, where they want to be able to do live streaming as well. So I recommend Library, Odyssey are good ones. They sound like, I'm not over there yet. I'm still doing research. I am on Brighteon. I have to finish kind of uploading the profile. I also went over Gab.ai with Andrew Torba. By the way, they use crowdfunding to help start their web hosting, social media. You can upload videos over there, and they act as like Twitter. They're like a combination. Also went over MeWe. It's like a secure version, by the way. So these are other independent platforms in case if you're tired of Facebook, you're tired of the censorship on Twitter, you're tired of YouTube, you can jump to these other platforms, by the way. Just to give you guys a heads up, FYI. You know, that's why I'm going over this information. So Darkman313 says this is where they mutilated the cattle come from when they can harvest people or children. I've heard, yeah, about the crop circle, stuff like that, by the way. And going back to the comments, Guest Services Perimeter says, don't worry, I'm at work watching tonight. Understand, appreciate you, Guest Services Perimeter. Cole Bowman says, shout out HFR and Dorsey and the stranger on the bus that told me about Redemption Manual 5.0 that 1 year. Bless and peace. Okay, big shout out to you, Cole Bowman. Thank you for that compliment. Glad you were able to find me and find out the information about the Redemption Manual 5.0. Darkman313 says, check out the channel Net Most Wanted. Okay, if you can, to remind me, it's probably best, because I don't go back sometimes and watch the live streams, because I think it hurts my AdSense revenue. There's a certain way as a content creator I have to do that when I was doing research some years ago, because I think YouTube will penalize you if you watch your own stuff. It's kind of like, I guess, gaming the algorithm or gaming the system. So if you guys have something that you want me to check out, it's best to leave it in the comment section if you can, or if you can inbox me on Twitter, shoot me a message that way, or you can email me serious inquiries only, generally, because I don't want my inbox to get flooded. But my Gmail account is j279dorsey@gmail for serious inquiries only. I'm using that as of lately for this particular channel. The other one I was using, Dorsey's Resource 2017@gmail.com, is kind of clogged up. I have to go over there and clean up the data over there, because, you know, Gmail only allows you 15 gigabytes per email account. So lately, for inquiries, for consultations, private coaching, you can reach me at j279dorsey@gmail.com, by the way. Or if you want to send me stuff, people send me information about martial law, vaccinations, stuff like that. But mainly, keep it, you know, to a minimum. You know, generally I say serious inquiries only. I'm trying to keep my inbox from being crowded, by the way, in an orderly fashion, but that's for booking, stuff like that, by the way. So appreciate that info. But another alternative, Dark Man, if you can remind me, because I may not see that when I watch my own videos, by the way. There's a certain way I have to go about doing it, just so you know. So it's best if you leave the information after the video uploads in a comment section. T. Berry says, Dorsey, your knowledge helps us to be ready on what's to come. Yes, that's what I try to do. Thank you, T. Berry. Trying to wire you guys up. Well, as my sensei, my mentor, used to tell me in martial arts, He would say, I'm trying to kick your heels or give you a heads up. By the way, that's how he used to put it to me. So thank you for that confirmation. Guest Services Perimeter says, yes, there are a lot of single females who need to know this information. Okay. Guest Services Perimeter says, Dorsey, have you watched Benny Wilson on YouTube? His page is Divine Intel. I think I've heard about Benny on Currency 365's channel, who's a big supporter of mine. By the way, when I've talked about topics pertaining to the dinar or the global currency reset, by the way, it's been a while since I listened to some of Benny's updates. I've been checking out Foot Forward's information or some of Currency 365 info. I appreciate the intel he has. By the way, there's a video I want to check out that he put out some time ago. I can't remember the title of it, but I go over there from time to time. You guys are welcome to subscribe. Like I said, he's been a supporter of mine. Appreciate Currency 365. We follow each other on Twitter, by the way. So yeah, I've heard of Benny with Divine Intel, but I may not have checked out his if he has a website, by the way. So I may have to go over check out his information. But I've liked information he's reported on plethora of people out there that share different intel, by the way. So the topic of this video, before I shut things down, by the way, and get back, because I am at what I call the slavery plantation, work plantation as a figure of speech. I went over alternative web hosting platforms to join. They're also independent media platforms where you can get the real information that MSNBC, CNN, MSNBC World News Tonight, or NBC World News Tonight, or CBS Morning News are not going to report on. Go to bitshoot.com, band.video to get the real information, credible information. You can also sign up for these platforms. Don't hesitate if you get a chance to create a profile over there. You need a username, email address, password. I've already done that. This will also be a way, in case you guys are wondering, if Dorsey ever goes dark or YouTube tries to shut us up. That's why these other platforms they mention as a threat to them, like Parler, for example. It's another one. The mainstream media was triggered. They try to get these, what do you call these people that are gatekeepers, villains, who I call deep state operatives, underlinks, who are part of the establishment, to try to discredit these other platforms and say, oh, these other platforms will allow hate speech and white supremacy, and that. They always push that narrative because they want to control the narrative. But Fact Check has been proven to be wrong. Fact Check is also being sued by Candace Owens. I heard they're currently in the lawsuit. Zero Hedge has sued Facebook. Prager University's had a lawsuit against YouTube. You remember they had hearings not too long ago where Mark Zuckerberg with Facebook, Jack Dorsey, CEO of Twitter, no relation to, by the way, Sundar Pichai, CEO of Google, Tim Cook, CEO of Apple. They're all coming under scrutiny, even Bill Gates with Microsoft. By the way, I do believe these tech companies, big tech giants, should be broken up. By the way, Alphabet's the parent company of Google. By the way, so some of them have had to testify. They've been subpoenaed. They're violating antitrust laws, former monopolies, discriminatory practices, targeting independent content creators that do not fit their narrative, by the way. I'm just giving you guys empowering information. That's why you guys must and need, if you guys want to fight against the New World Order, the slap in the face, if you guys want to put a middle finger up at the ruling class elite, the Illuminati, by the way, join these platforms. That's how you guys fight back. It's a form of guerrilla warfare. You sign up for these independent media platforms because they can't control your speech, and there's so many of them. It's hard for their minions and gatekeepers and underlinks, their villains, to try to keep up. They are out there, because I warn you guys, they're over here. You know, you always see someone thumbing down my video. I wonder who they are. I may even lobby to YouTube if I can see, allow me to see where these thumbs down are coming from, so I can, track their IP addresses, wherever, who these accounts. so I can, find out, because a lot of these people don't want to be exposed, these minions. That's why a lot of these gatekeepers, these agents, they hide behind shield or fake accounts. But you have these gatekeepers, villains, and minions that don't mean well, by the way, that don't like to be exposed. Just like Antifa, some groups of Black Lives Matter, they don't like to show their real face because they're pussies, by the way. When you have someone like myself, I'm giving you credible, real facts, real information. Real facts matter. So you have someone who's not hiding behind a ghost or fake account, by the way. But I'm just equipping you with the skill set to know that there's other platforms, web hosting platforms. So YouTube, Google, Twitter, Facebook, who else? Instagram doesn't have Periscope. These different groups, Vimeo is not just censoring people, kicking people off just because they don't like their political views. Or Twitch, by the way, who originally tried to come out saying they welcome people, then they started heavily censoring too. So you can't trust Twitch, by the way. But definitely get on band.video, set you up a Parler account. Brighteon.com is growing, Minds.com, BitChute.com, MeWe is another one, by the way. Some I'm working on, Odyssey, Library, by the way. And there may be others that are coming. So this is how you fight back to counter what they're doing. Because the globalists, remember, the ruling class, they control a lot of these super media conglomerate corporations like CNN. Like Ted Turner had owned a lot of majority shares of CNN, and he owned the Atlanta Braves at one time. Turner Broadcasting Network, TBS, Turner Broadcasting Station, based down out of Atlanta, Georgia. By the way, he's a globalist. Another member of the ruling class that doesn't have the general population's best interest at heart, by the way. That's how you fight these people back. Get on these other platforms, by the way. Definitely support Alex Jones, InfoWars, what they're doing. Because the globalists, they can't stop everybody. They can't shut everybody up. Imagine if you had millions of John F. Kennedys, millions of Dr. Martin Luther Kings, millions of Malcolm X's, Malik El Shabazz, billions of them. That's an army, an avalanche. They won't be able to stop. Put the middle finger up to the globalists. Tell them, you're going to fight back. You're not going to stand down. You're not going to be scared. You're not going to back down. We're going to show these globalists, the ruling class elite, and their minions, their underlings, when they try to put them in your face, you stand up to them. Say, you're in this fight. You're going to knock them out. You know what I'm saying? Let these globalists know we're not going to never back down. You know what I mean? You're going to show the real power fist that you're in the movement. You're going to show them what the Wakanda Forever means, because I'm giving you the names, the real people that need to be brought down, that don't have our best interests at heart. And this is not about skin color. Check out the Georgia Guidestones. That means a lot of people got to go. So at another side, this is not about race. They want to use that to divide people. Yes, you do have grievances and things on each side. I do get that. But different groups need to team up to take down the elites. So they'll have their maids, their housekeepers turning on them, the ones that don't have our best interests at heart. So try to become self-empowered, to become independent, self-sufficient. That's why I've gone over this redemption information. By the way, there's ways to equip you guys with the skill sets. If you're intelligent enough and you have the willpower to learn the secrets that the ruling class elite, aka the Illuminati, use, they can be defeated. They're not invincible. They can be brought down. So I'm giving you guys empowering information. You guys have all the power. By the way, as I said this, I'm simply a messenger, just relaying high-powered information to you guys to expose and fight back against the ruling class elite who have created this fake scandemic that are using division and race war to divide us, and using their mainstream media to push propaganda and things and gaslighting tactics. For example, to tell you there's no evidence of voter fraud and things of this sort. Trump is the greater, lesser of two evils. He's the better option. He has our back. Best believe. I've studied the Illuminati, the ruling class elite, for years. So you can take my word for it. This information I'm going over is factual, credible. And there's millions and billions of other people worldwide who know about this information. And there's people willing to stand up to the New World Order who are not going to back down. So they're going to have a fight on their hands. Like, let them know, you know, we're in this fight for real, you know. So with that being said, I'm going to get ready to shut things down. See if, read the rest of you guys' chats in here. And I'm going to shut things down, by the way. Darkman says, I'll put it in the chat after the video. Okay, got you. Appreciate you. Darkman313 says, watch Net Most Wanted, hashtag stay out of the parks. I'll put it in the chat after the video. Appreciate you. Yeah, put it in the comment section. Definitely need that info, and anything else you guys want me to know about, just leave it in the comment section after the video. Sonia Johnson says, hello, Dorsey. Greetings to you, Sonia. Big shout out to you. Appreciate you joining. Cole Bowman says HFR was at high frequency radio. Okay, I wasn't sure. I didn't realize what that stood for. I was on watching Yusuf El the other day. He's been on fire too, by the way, about this stuff. Had some great lives this week too. Good to hear from you again. Enjoy the plantation. Yeah, right. Yeah, I was in the chat section over there. Yusuf was giving them that work. Yusuf was putting it in. So yeah, you guys go over there, subscribe, support Yusuf. He, by the way, I found out, I didn't know this originally, but some years back when I did that black card video, Yusuf had shared that caused it to go viral. By the way, one of the original videos, one of them I removed because there's some other stuff going on, by the way, and he has some information over on his channel too, in regards to the Pastor Tony King. So I'm just putting it out there, as well as David Clarence is still on the internet. And another YouTube channel, by the way, that I have no connections with, that had their original Black Card video still up, by the way. Because I heard certain individuals trying to use my name out there as a scapegoat in case he has his operatives or minions watching. Just FYI to them, you know, I'm not the only one out there. So, you know, just putting it out there. Not saying that I will be willing to shut things down, but I need to see some credibility. By the way, what happened to my paperwork from years ago? Just saying on a side note. But I appreciate you guys, all you guys joining. I'm getting ready to shut it down. T. Berry says, yes, it's a fight for sure. Cole Bowman says, okay, wasn't sure on the network. Good stuff. Peace. Appreciate you all. So with that said, appreciate all you guys for taking the time out of your busy schedule to watch me. You can subscribe to me, follow me at Dorsey's Resource. I am on Facebook at Dorsey's Resource. I'm on Twitter, of course, at Dorsey's Resource. I'm on Instagram at Dorsey's Resource _2019. The title of this video was dealing with independent, alternate social media web hosting platforms to join. So I'm also on Minds.com. I do have an account on Gab.ai, the free version. Just look up at Dorsey's Resource. I'm also on Parler. Just look up at Dorsey's Resource. By the way, I do have a backup channel you can subscribe to me on. It's my second channel. I put out stuff maybe over there from time to time, but this is my main channel. So if you haven't, subscribe to me at Dorsey's Resource on YouTube. So well, just in case anything happens, just so you guys know, you can find me on these other platforms, web hosting platforms that I went over, whether they're video hosting or whatever. Once again, I'm on Minds.com, Gab.ai, the free version. I'm also on Brighteon. I have to upload my profile stuff over there. So you can just be on standby just in case I get censored or things, I get shut down over here. You guys will be able to find myself and other content creators on those other platforms. That's how we back each other up, guys. And we can stay as whistleblowers and report on these deep state minions and have our own secret network to fight against, you know, and knock out the globalists, by the way. So I'm going to leave you with these cliches. Appreciate you all once again. Real legends never die. The marathon will continue. Stay woke out there. Your host, Dorsey's Resource. Until next time, John Dorsey signing out. Deuces to you guys. Peace out. Wakanda forever. We got this. I'm out.